Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to Sir Adam and to all my friends. My name is Luqman from Abdul Majid and I'm from the LM48. So today I want to talk about the issue that occurred in consideration part. Okay, first of all, the issue is Madam Yusuful promised to her son, which is Mr. Useless, to give 1000 ringgit per month as a expenses and a terrace house if her son, Mr. Useless, continue his study. Mr. Useless agreed with his mom and continued the study. But unfortunately, one day, Mr. Useless and Madam Useful has misunderstanding, and Madam Useful asked his son to leave a terrace house and stop giving 1000 ringgit per month as his expenses. Mr. Useless was very frustrated and want to take a legal action to his mom. So, is there have a valid contract between Madam Useful and her son, which is Mr. Useless? So, is the contract still going on? If the promisee offended the promiser hard because his mom agreed to give 1000 ringgit per month and a terrace house if Mr. Useless continue his study. So that is the issue for the consideration. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Farhan bin Murizam. Okay, now we tell about law and the text of consideration. Okay, to get you guys more understand about this case, we use the names in the scenario. So it will be useless versus useful. Based on the scenario, the promisor, which is Madam Useless, have been promised to promisee, and he is her own son, to provide a house and Rm 1000 ringgit per month if he agreed to further his study, because at the time Mr. Useless worked as sales advisor in a company. His mother asked him to further his study in College Professional Mara Ipoh and take accountancy course. After 6 months, they get filed, and Madam Useful asked her son to leave the house. Other than that, Madam Useful also stopped give 1000 ringgit and the permission for the house. It makes Useless frustrated and want to take legal action on his own mother. Okay, now that's all for the law.
Okay, so I will continue the application in the part of consideration. So, as we all know, there are promiser, which is a Madam Useful, and the promisee, the Useless, which is her son. So, in the term of contract that have been made is the promiser agree to give a 1000 ringgit and a single terrace house if the term that have been made is agreed. So the term that need to be agreed by promisee is they need to return to Ipoh and further his study in accounting at KPM Ipoh. So in consideration, they need to be classified. So by this case, what we can classify is as executory consideration. Okay, it is because the exchange of the promises is made to perform in the future, which is forced promisee to fulfill the term that have been agreed in the future. Okay, so we go to the analysis part, which is the consideration is an act by promises by the promise which is made useful, or any other consideration are useless as required by the promiser in return for his promise, which is to give 1000 ringgit plus the house. Okay, so according to the law, when something is given in return for something else, it is clearly shown that there is consideration that makes the agreement valid. So, their supporting case, according to the section 2D of the contract 1950, and the case of Peng Sui Kim versus Bear I Hawk. Okay, so therefore there have been misunderstanding happen, which is make the promisee didn't get the monthly expenses and get to leave the house, even though the promisor didn't fulfill the offer, but the consideration is still valid. It is because the consideration need not to be adequate, but it need to be sufficient. So the agreement is still valid. So thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To our lecturer, Sir Adam Isan. So, before we start our presentation, we want to introduce ourselves. My name is ASHRAF. I'm from the M4A, and my number is 9005011. So, what we want to present about? So, we want to present about the case between Mr. Useless and Madam Useful. Under this case, we have two terms, that is the consideration and create regulation. So, the next presenter will present first. Thank you. Okay, so what is the conclusion under this term of consideration? In this case, Madam Useful and Mr. Useless, the contracts is valid because when the Madam Useful call her son, that is the offer. When her son, Mr. Useless, accept the offer, so that is called the acceptance. So the court had that Madam Useful is binding with the agreement with her son, that is Mr. Useless, so that Madam Useful need to continue give the monthly expenses around 1,000 and single story terrace house for her son, that is the Mr. Useless. So that is the conclusion. Thank you.
Okay, so next I want to present about the issue that in the part of intention to create legal relation. Okay, first the issue is same like the consideration part, which is Madam Useful promised to give her son a terrace house and 1,000 ringgit per month for her son expenses if her son agreed to continue his study. So then one fine day, they have misunderstanding between Madam Useful and Mr. Useless. So Madam Useful stopped giving her son 1,000 ringgit per month and asked her son to leave a terrace house. So as usual, Mr. Useless was angry and very frustrated. So the issue is there is still the contract between her mom and his son, which is Madam Useful and Mr. Useless. So can his son, Mr. Useless, take a legal action to his mom, which is Madam Useful? So that is the issue for intention to create legal relation part. So thank you.
So the law under terms of create regulations in case between Madam Useful and Mr. Useless, the court had that there was no legal binding agreement because they not have intention to create regulation, as Madam Useful is Mr. Useless' mother.
We continue the application part in intention to create a legal relation. So we apply the social, domestic and family agreement in this case because the law treats social, domestic and family agreement as agreement without intention to create legal relation. So this case between Madam Useful and Mr. Useless, there will be the relation between both party, which is mother and son. So there will be no legal action will take if one of the person did not performing the agreement. So the agreement are also not intended to be a legal enforceable. So which is the agreement are still valid. So that's all.
Assalamualaikum. My name is FARHAN and now it's time to conclude for the whole case of intention to create legal relation. Okay, so what is the conclusion? Okay, the conclusion is the court held there is no legally binding agreements between them. I mean, the two person in the scenario, which are Mr. Useless and Madam Useful. This is because Madam Useful and Mr. Useless have a family relationship. Madam Useful is a mom and Mr. Useless is her own son. So the agreement made is not to be legally enforceable. His son cannot take legal action towards his mom, and the court could not interfere in their matters. So that's all from me. Okay, thank you.